Hello, and welcome to Husky Talk Conversations with Cully and Conlon. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. I'd like to thank our sponsors at Procyon Partners. They specialize in employee benefits, wealth management, and retirement planning. President Sean Rabinowitz is a proud supporter of Husky Talk. He is going to get me a Tesla very, very soon, and I look forward to that day. We have Green Street Trust International, owned and operated by Rennell Jump. I just talked with him the other day and got him another client. He's going to be working with Maurice Lloyd, so he owes me big time. They specialize in tax plans for businesses large or small. They will save you money or they will get you a big fat return. To schedule your free strategic tax planning session today, go to www.greenstreettrust.com. Pete Finch in the Finch Law Firm. He is out of Bridgeport, Connecticut. And if you've suffered any type of personal injury, a slip and fall, a construction beam fell on you at a site, your mother-in-law tried to run you over with a car, the Finch firm is for you. Pete is not afraid of any insurance company. He has won legal battles all over the state of Connecticut, and he will get every dollar that you deserve in earned in compensation through your pain and suffering. It was also great to see Pete a couple weeks ago and his daughter. Dynamic Human Performance is owned and operated by Andre Dixon. Andre works with boys and girls of all ages, of all sports. He just started a new boot camp program 7 days a week at 6 a.m. If you want to get in shape, go work with Andre. He has an athletic development program where he takes boys and girls, the sport of their choice, and he will train them from the ground up, help them reach their potential, be the best that they can possibly be. Andre has sent boys and girls of all sports to college on scholarship all over the country. So if you want to work with the best, work with Andre. And it's www.dynamichumanperformance.com. Down south, we have Julius Williams and the Trench Mob. Julius is in Decatur, Georgia. He trains offensive and defensive linemen. They do camps 5 versus 5, offensive versus defensive, and they score points. Right now, they are having a camp circuit where they go to college camps. And just by wearing the Trench Mob gear, you get noticed by coaches, you get evaluated by coaches, and anything Julius says matters. He's done a phenomenal job. He has sent players to Florida, Florida State, Miami, Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, just to name a few. If you want to work with the best, if you want a chance at a scholarship, if you want a chance at an NIL deal, go work with Julius. He also has programs that operate out of state. He can give it to you and talk you through it, the exercises, the techniques that you have to do that will ultimately make you better. And now for the lady of the hour, Maria Conlon, who I missed last week, and I'm so happy to catch up with. How are you? Are you doing okay? No, I can't hear you now. Hold on. That's okay. That's okay. I just had you. You're on your cell phone. Give me 1 second. Okay. Let me see if I screwed this up. Okay. Give me 1 second. Can you hear me now? No? Okay. Oh. Why does this do this to me? Try. Still nothing. Okay, hold on. Let me try my settings. Okay, the camera is okay. The audio. Hear me now? Speaker. How about that? No. No. Okay. Okay. All right. Great. We'll just do this. Okay. Still can't hear me? Okay. I'll try this. Hold on. All right. We're going old school. At least I can have the sound. All right. So just answer the lovely phone when I call. Where did I put you? Okay.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice.
You can, if you can hear me, you can answer the phone. All right, you can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you turn on your camera or no? Does it not?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So I had wanted to start off by asking you a very, very important question. The House versus the NCAA came to their settlement yesterday. Well, I think it was Friday for sure. And, it's the first time we talked about they're going to be able to pay players. And the breakdown of it seems like it would definitely violate Title IX. And it doesn't seem like anyone cares. So I was kind of surprised by that.
Hello.
And the first thing I saw was basically they're going to do it's going to be 15% is going to go to college football. It's going to be I think, it was 15%. It was, what was it, 15% or 12? It was 12%. Well, whatever. It was 5% that was going to go to women's college basketball, which I thought was outrageous. And the other thing is they're talking about cutting sports altogether. They're talking about actually moving to club models or reducing costs altogether and cutting sports. And I just think that's absolutely asinine, and it goes against everything the NCAA has stood for. And it's great that the players are obviously getting paid, but do you want them to lose the opportunity to play sports just for the sake of getting a few extra bucks? Do you think sports should be cut because of it? I'm all for, the kids getting paid and making as much money as possible. But when I heard the breakdown, obviously college football is going to get the highest, and it's set at 20 million, but there's between the SEC and the Big Ten, they're the only conferences that can afford the 20 million. And it's a breakdown for all sports. So I just wanted to get your thought on that, because it seems like we're, moving in the future, but we're also going back 50 years.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little surprised by that as well, just because of, we had this conversation months ago about how many extra scholarships that schools were going to give specific sports, right? Like, we went through that and we were kind of like mind-boggled at some of the sports that were getting a huge increase. Yeah, in roster sizes. I think the hard part with anything like this, and I've been saying this since the beginning of kids getting paid, and listen, I love the concept that kids can make money for their skills and their talents, right? Because the universities are making a ton of money.
They are.
Off of these things. But I think, careful what you wish for in certain areas, because, now that these universities are paying these kids and they're losing the revenue that they would have been getting, it's got to come from somewhere, right? Like, you can't,
correct. Yeah.
You can't tip the scales and say, okay, we're going to pay all these athletes money and then still have the same amount of athletes, right? Because budget wise and not being in the red and being able to afford to do what they need to do from a perspective of what that sport entails, you got to find a way to balance that. And I think, unfortunately, the only way to do that is to cut some sports that cost you money, right? So you can drop that bottom line. So to me, it sounds like it's a sound financial decision, right? Like, you can't, like, if you think about it from a company standpoint, because that's basically what all this is now, right? The companies, like,
the sports that don't make money. I get that.
Yeah, you can't hire, 5 high-paying salaried positions and not cut to make up the difference somewhere, right? If you own a company, like, you got to still be able to balance what that is. So I think that we're just seeing that that's what's going to end up happening in order for them to level the playing field from a revenue standpoint. So, yeah, I mean, I hate it. I think a kid being able to play sports in college is such a huge, added bonus, not just for their experience in college, but just life lessons in the future, right? So it's going to be really tough. I think you're probably going to see some lawsuits. Like, you're talking about Title IX and stuff. You said nobody seems to care. Well, people care. They just haven't gotten to that point yet, right? Like, I think we'll see that trickle down effect moving forward. But in terms of the decision to cut sports as they increase the amount of money they have to pay these kids, it makes sense, right? Like, if you're talking about balancing that sheet. But yeah, I mean, somebody's going to be left off of that because of it, which is just really unfortunate.
Yeah, when I saw the first breakdown of how they were going to do it, obviously football was going to get the most. Men's college basketball was going to get the second. Women's college basketball was going to get the third. But then they showed like Stanford and Ohio State, who have 33 collegiate sports right now. And every one of those coaches is going to want revenue. And there's no way to please them. Plus, you have the scholarship increase. And maybe that was a way to try to appease them. Well, okay, we're going to pay the top echelon of players, but we'll give more scholarships to the Olympic sports or the non-revenue sports in that manner. But I just don't see how they can sit down and, it's about equality or whatever Title IX stood for, equality, and they fought so hard for it. And I mean, do you see it as Title IX going down the drain with this, or it's just based on who brings in what money?
I'd be interested to see how they're balancing it with both ends of that, right? Like if you take, I don't know, I'm just going to throw something random out there. Like if you take swimming away completely as a sport in college, are you taking it away from just women's swimming, or are you taking it away from men's swimming too, right? So if you do that, maybe you can balance a little bit of the Title IX stuff that way.
Yeah.
I mean, football is always the outlier because it's the biggest roster size of any sport, right? So, you're constantly going to be chasing your tail to fit Title IX because there's no sport on the women's side that has that roster
athletes, right?
Yeah. So, that was always a balancing act anyways. So I hadn't looked at that full list of like some of the sports that they're going to be getting rid of, but I would assume that they're going to take away some men's sports too.
They have to, yeah.
Because if not, you're going to run into a big Title IX issue, and then you're going back in time, like you said.
It's going to be
two steps forward, 5 steps backwards, right? So I'll be interested to see how all of that shakes out and how they're going to, finagle cutting some of those sports and still staying within the Title IX ramification. So we'll see.
I talked to several coaches who had said that 10, 12 years ago, this exact same issue came up. Basically, we're going to have to pay players. They're going to go to court over it. They're going to win. It's an antitrust lawsuit, and we blatantly have a monopoly over it. And they said that 12 years ago, they probably could have sat down and tried to formulate a system that could have worked, that could have operated. Do you think there's any system that works when there's this kind of money involved that would have pleased everyone or been operational without lawsuits?
I think again, you go into this whole thing like you're never going to please everybody.
Right. Yeah.
But like I'm a realist too. Like not every sport is created equal, right? Like, I mean, football brings in the highest revenue, so they should be. Like I come from a sales background, Steve, right? Like I've been in sales on my financial gig like my whole life, right? So
absolutely.
The more clients you get, the more sales you make, the more money you make.
Yeah.
So, while everybody should have the same opportunity
correct
to acquire those clients, right? Not every advisor is created equally. If you have 50 clients and I have 250, obviously I'm going to make more money than you. So, even on the equality thing, it's all relevant or relative, I should say, because if football is bringing in the most revenue, then they should get the most money.
They should get the biggest chunk. Yeah. No, I get it. I just, like I said, we looked back at the transfer portal, and even for UConn, when you see guys who are transferring 3 times, I mean, there's guys that have transferred 4 times and just sat out a year. Like they transferred to a school, didn't like it, and just immediately decided to redshirt and transfer again. It's just crazy with that.
And that's like a whole separate conversation, right?
It is,
Because
yes.
I really believe, like, I mean, we're talking about it in terms of sports and college and the transfer portal, right? But like, I'm out in the real world. So what I see is I see it with this generation on every level out there, right? So like, and I say that because I mean, you have a kid that graduates from college right now. They go out and they get a job, right? On average right now, there's some statistics behind that. This kid is going to probably work for 4 or 5 companies before they turn 30.
Easily, yeah.
Now think about that, right? So what is that? That is basically the transfer portal for corporations or, say, or different companies. And I see it even at the AAU level, right?
Yes.
Like we develop a kid, they're in 5th grade, they play with us until they're in 8th grade, and we develop them correctly. And then they get recruited and poached by another AAU program, and then they jump there. And then they're there for a year, and they realize, oh, it's not everything that they said it was going to be. I'm going to jump to another AAU program. So it's a standard, and it's a way of life for these kids. And I don't know if it's a direct correlation to what we're seeing in college, because a lot of these kids that are doing that aren't necessarily athletes, right? I mean, these are kids that maybe just went to college to be business majors and, live the normal college life, as I call it. And then again, they're going out into the real world, and they have 4 or 5 different companies on their resume by the time they're 30. So, it's not a great look.
No, but it's reality. Yeah,
but if you flash back, like, I started with my first company in 2007. After I was done playing in the pros, and I stayed with that same company for 11 years before I made a change. That's like unheard of now.
Right.
And if you go back even further, right, to like our parents, or like my mom's been working at Griffin Hospital for like 30 something years. Like,
I never would have crossed her mind to make a change.
No, and like loyalty is different. I think I also think too on the bright side for these kids, right? Because it's not all negative. I think that the old school thought was you commit to something and you do it. Doesn't matter how unhappy you are.
Yeah.
You stay there and you dig it out. Which I don't think that is the right way to go either, right? No. Because if you're not, we talk about this with our work harder stuff, but like if something's not aligned with you and you're not in love with it and passionate about it, like you got to do something. Like nobody wants to go through life being miserable. It's just like marriage, right? like back in the day, everybody talks about divorce rates, right? But it's the transfer portal for marriages. It's like, back in the day, you married your high school sweetheart, right? You got married, you had kids, and no matter how freaking miserable you were with this person, you stuck it out. You were married 25, 35, 50 freaking years, and then you die, right? Like that's how it used to be. And now it's not like that. People are like, all right,
peace.
This was working. Now it's not. You try to work at it as hard as you can, and then it's like, all right, no, I got to choose me over all this stuff that people telling me. And I think we're seeing this, like I said, on all different levels with this generation. Is like they're not settling.
Do you think people necessarily stayed in those marriages more of fear because of their parents, or because they were fearful of gossip and looking like they gave up on their marriage?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of everything, right? It's also your faith, right? So like
Very
depending
true.
on what religion you believe in and how that's frowned upon or whatever. But I also think like you're talking about social norms. And as much as we want to say, don't put yourself in this box of what the social norm is, if that's not the thing, right? Like, no, you don't do that. You don't quit. You don't like pack it in. Like if that's the social norm that is the acceptable standard, that's kind of like what you do, right?
Yeah.
Versus now, that's not necessarily like, it's more popular to be divorced than it is to be married to the same person. It's, and I don't know, I'm not condoning like, having 5 or 6 different partners throughout your life.
No.
But, I think there is something to be said for, putting yourself first, right? You can't make anyone else happy if you're not happy. And I think we're seeing that in college. Like when we were in college, like if you heard of a kid transferring, that was like big news.
It was huge.
Like there had to be like something like majorly wrong for a kid to transfer, because back then it was like, all right, I signed a letter of commitment. This is what I do. All right, maybe I'm not getting the playing time I want, or I'm not getting the shots that I want. You didn't transfer. Like you either rode the bench or you figured out a way to get on the court. You know what I mean? Like it's not like that anymore.
No, I know, and that's what's disappointing. We were looking at UConn's roster yesterday at the quarterback position. They only have 4 quarterbacks on scholarship, 3 with experience. They lost 3 in the transfer portal, and that just blew my mind that they, just 3 were gone like that, and 2 left after the spring, and they're scrambling. I don't know if they're going to sign anyone or not, but that puts you in a tough position, only having 4 scholarship quarterbacks, because guys get hurt so easily, and you could be stuck with nothing and your season's ruined, and guys get fired. That's how quickly it can go downhill in just the absolute instant. You had
on that too, just one last comment I want to make, right? Like, I think that the worst thing for college sports right now, specifically for coaches, right?
Yeah.
Is it's like, and I don't, at my level, I don't feel the pain of this as much, but like, you're a coach, you're recruiting, right? Like you want to recruit kids, and back in the day it was like, all right, we got to find the best senior, high schoolers in the country and bring them on or whatever. Now you have 3 jobs as that coach for the same line item. What I mean is, number one, you got to be a retention specialist.
Yeah, you got to recruit your own kids.
Yeah, so you're a retention specialist. You got to be a transfer portal specialist.
That too.
And then, oh, by the way, you still got to have enough time to go recruit the best high school athletes in the country.
Yeah.
That's just like, it's crazy to me.
And coach and win games.
And coach and do all the other things that are actually in your job title. But like, the retention specialist and the transfer portal specialist piece is, it's daunting. I mean, there's nothing worse, right? Again, like in comparison to a marriage, like, you're going to therapy with every player that you have to try to work on your relationship to make sure that they stay. It's like, it's crazy. It's totally crazy. Like, who wants to spend so much time convincing a teenager or a 20-year-old
please stay
to stay with you? Like, believe in me. I swear, you know what I mean? Like, it's got to be exhausting. And unfortunately, that's like the world that we live in. It's like you're constantly trying to validate what you already had to sell.
Do you think it's the kids that necessarily want to be loved up more? The extra attention?
I think social media has created a monster in that way, right? Because, kids are constantly looking for approval, but they're also constantly looking for clout, right? It's like, what was that thing? It used to be as the bracelets that people would wear. It was like, what would Jesus do?
Oh,
now it's like, now it's like, what will you do for me?
Yeah. Exactly.
It's kind of crazy. It's like, imagine buying, you talk about Sean getting you this Tesla, right? So like, you go and you buy a Tesla, you're driving your Tesla, but every year that car dealership has to sell you the same Tesla.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Over and over again, right? Like trying to convince you again why you already bought it. And it's already in your driveway.
Yeah.
But like, now I got to convince you to keep this Tesla another year. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It is. you had a comment from Mark, who is out of Norwich, who disagrees with you and believes that Indiana is going to beat Oklahoma City for the championship, and said that you spoke too soon. That was his remark to you.
Yeah, I don't think I spoke too soon. I think that first game was a fluke.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Indiana is playing phenomenal basketball right now. Like, I don't think they could play any better, right? Like, I think they're peaking at the right time. I think, they play team basketball. Both these teams play team basketball, which I love. They both move the ball. They both dig in on defense. But I think Oklahoma City is so loaded, and I think they're so much more battle tested playing in the Western Conference all year. Originally I said Oklahoma City in 5, which I'm still going to stay on, but I don't think there's any way they go past 6 games. This is not going to be a 7-game series. There's just no way, barring any major,
it's not going
injuries or whatever. I don't think, and I think now, Oklahoma City has seen, all right, even if we got a 15-point lead, we can't let our foot off the gas. Why they didn't learn that watching the Knicks Pacers series is beyond me, but sometimes you got to go through it yourself to experience it. But I don't think we're going to see that again from them. I think they're a mature, locked-in team. So sorry, Mark, but Oklahoma City's still winning this series.
Mark had another question. He wanted to know your thoughts on Tom Thibodeau getting fired from the Knicks. He was completely blown away by that. And
really? I can't believe people are blown away by that.
You weren't blown away by that?
No,
I don't know the NBA.
New York, we've known for years. New York is cutthroat, man. You're playing in the Big Apple, it's cutthroat there. They want to win. They felt like they had enough to win the Eastern Conference. They blew some games. I think
you did too. You did too. You said you thought they would beat Indiana, but Thibodeau had brought them to the playoffs. They've won a playoff series the last 3 years in a row, and it's the first time they've been in the Eastern Conference Finals since the year 2000. I mean, who's out there that's better than him? That was my question, because I don't know that. Is the Nuggets guy better than Thibodeau? I mean, who's better than him? Who are they going to get that's better?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I like Thibodeau. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a great mentor. But I think he just – listen.
Mark says he's not well-liked. Is that true? Players don't like him?
It seems like Jalen Brunson really liked him. He had emotional posts after they fired him. You could say that about any.
Yeah,
right. What pro really loves their coach right now? Pros are pros. Some of them want to be left alone or whatever. I'll tell you who I would not be surprised if they get called for that job is our boy Hurley.
Really?
I could totally. Listen, he's a New York guy, right? It's always been his dream to.
That's right. He's from Jersey. I didn't even think of that.
He's he's from down there. His wife's from down there. One of the big factors in him deciding not to take the Laker job was that he had to move.
Cross country.
Yeah. If I'm the Knicks, I'm definitely having a conversation with him. And I think too, the nice part about the Knicks roster is, they're fairly young. Some of their superstars are really young, which I think is a better fit for him versus going somewhere where he's got to deal with a lot of high maintenance veterans. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that. I'm not saying it'll happen, but that was one of my first thoughts when I saw that Thibodeau, got the hook was, oh wow, that would be kind of
even cross my mind. Wow, that's breaking news. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Did he sign Was it? I mean, it was a longer contract with UConn. I didn't know if it got to like 6 or 8 years with the extension. I know his buyout increased, but I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter with the NBA. And he has said that he does want to coach in the NBA. It just has to be the right situation, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he'll find a better. The only one that could be better or more convenient for him right now would maybe be Boston, but you know that's not happening anytime soon.
Wow. So, well, Mark, you just got shot down there because she said early. I'm sure that's not what you wanted to hear. Couple things with the WNBA. You had a question from Amanda, who apparently is a fan of the Atlanta Dream. What are your thoughts on their season so far? I just see that they're 5-3. I don't know much about them. Were they projected to have a down year, or what did you see?
They had a down year last year. Right?
Oh, okay.
They had some injuries. They made some off-season trades. They got a new coach. So yeah, the Dream looked good. You know, I think they've got some nice pieces there. You know, to make a splash. I mean, again, assuming that everybody stays healthy, I don't know who the heck is going to beat Minnesota or New York, but you know, they're just flying on all cylinders right now. It's crazy. I mean, you got one of them is 9-0, the other's 8-0.
Well, I mean, the Liberty, their win differential is close to 20 points a game. They're beating teams by, which I was shocked at.
Yeah, I think they beat like the Chicago Sky like 102 to like 50.
I know that just makes me happy because I just like to see Angel where he used to get upset, and I just like watching the TikToks of the me bounds, as they call them. You got me watching that now because
there's so many good ones. It's unbelievable, but yeah, I mean, New York is just thumping people.
Yeah, big time. And it's just sad to see the Connecticut Sun down near the bottom. I know they lost a lot and they didn't make the best off-season moves, but it's always good when they seem to have a good season. As far as Chicago goes, Alyssa had wanted to know if Chicago can get back in the mix and have a shot to make the playoffs.
Absolutely not.
I was going to say that too after watching them.
Absolutely not. That is a hard pass for me on that. They don't like. Not only do they not have the talent, they're like hard. They're hard to watch.
They are painful to watch. They are.
They're so hard to watch. I mean, you know, and no, that's not happening.
Okay,
that's not happening. I don't think. Dallas, it's not happening.
No, poor Dallas.
Not happening to Connecticut either.
Yeah.
You know, that's just that's not happening.
I mean, Indiana's held their own with Caitlin Clark out at 4-4. I mean, I think that's better than probably what they were projected, and getting her back. Would that make her? That would make them 3 in the East.
Yeah.
Indiana, Atlanta, and New York, right?
Yeah, I mean.
Okay.
New York, Atlanta, and then Indiana's 3rd right now in the East, and Washington at 4th. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised. I'm surprised, and I'm not surprised with their record because you know they made some really good off-season moves as well. You know, they picked up Dewana Bonner,
and the coach was a good move.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, I didn't have a problem with the coach of Indiana last year that much. I feel bad for her because I think she was handed like an impossible situation from the jump. But yeah, I mean, when the heck? What stinks is like I haven't even really watched that many games because Paige and Caitlin aren't playing right now. So I'm just kind of waiting for them to get back. I've watched Washington a bit.
I watched Chicago because of you, and I just had to laugh. It's just it's amazing to me. Just Angel Reese, and she has kind of like an attitude about her, and I just think she believes she's better than she probably is. I can't get a read on it. She just seems very temperamental. So that's what's kind of confusing about her. As far as everyone else, I mean, Minnesota, I mean, are they as good as advertised?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Minnesota and New York are my picks again to be in the WNBA finals. I actually think Minnesota is a more well-rounded team than New York, but New York is just flying on all cylinders right now. But it's so early.
Yeah, it's very early. Yes.
I mean, anything can happen. We saw that last year. We've seen it in years past. So I think it's still early to call it, but I would be shocked if all things remain the same. I would be shocked not to see New York and Minnesota in the finals.
And just on another note, how was the graduation the other night?
Yeah, she graduated yesterday. It was awesome.
Good.
They did awards and stuff. She got a bunch of awards. She got the kindness award, which obviously always makes me like a proud mom.
That's really good. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, and then we had a bunch of the families come back to Square Peg.
Good.
Afterwards, so we did like a pizza salad buffet thing, and yeah, it was fun. It was a really great night. I'm headed up to WestCon right now, and I couldn't get the now high schooler out of bed already this morning, so she's at home with my dad.
Are they officially done with school?
Yeah,
okay.
She's done now. Yep. So
okay.
She'll be chilling with me for the summer. I will say I tried to wake her up. She didn't want to get up, but she did say, "Can we work out when you get home?" So I was happy to hear
that. The thing that I couldn't believe how tall she is. I mean, I asked you, do you think she'll, projected wise, could she be over 6 feet tall?
I think she'll end up at like 5'10" or 6 foot, like right in between there, I would say. Yeah, and she like the problem with her right now is that she's I don't want to say she's skinny. I don't do any body shaming or whatever. She needs to put on more muscle.
No. I know she is.
On the court, she gets bumped off of her spot from a physicality standpoint a little bit. So we're gonna work on that this summer and just kind of training her body for contact. I'm excited to do that. But yeah, she's definitely tall and she towers over me.
Yeah, that's what I was surprised at. And then for her future, I mean, is she gonna primarily be like a 2 or a 3, you think?
Yeah, I think she'll be. I mean, she's got great court vision, but I think she's better suited as a shooting guard.
Yeah. That's what I.
But yeah, I would say like a 2 or 3, depending on how tall she gets. So.
Okay. Anything else going on this week?
No. I mean, I have.
Just don't build anything else, please.
Yeah, we're building our third deck tomorrow. And then we'll take a rest. We might actually be able to get through the last 2 decks tomorrow because they're the smaller ones. And we did the really big one first, and we learned from our mistakes, and now we're more efficient. So we banged out an 8x16 deck in like 3 hours yesterday. It was kind of wild. So
I'm gonna get you like a bobcat. I think if I got you a bobcat, you'd probably find something to do with it.
Like the funny part too is, I mean, you've been to my house, so like we have the corner lot.
Yes.
So when we're working out there, we constantly have people walking by or driving by.
Yes.
And golf carts.
Yes,
And now it's to the point. Yeah, now it's to the point where like people stop, like assuming like we're like some father-daughter like construction team, and like we've had people now ask us if we can go and remodel like their decks, and we're like, no. This is just like a hobby right now for our own house, but like we have zero interest in going and building, decks for other people's places. But
they're offering,
and my mom and Danielle are like, hey, we'll get you guys some business cards. This could be a good side gig.
Yeah, like the 45 jobs you already have. Let's just add another one on there.
In all my spare time now, I'll start building decks in the neighborhood. But.
Oh, that's great. Well, have a good trip in. I'm glad that the graduation went well, and I'm very, very happy for Layla. And I will talk with you soon. I'll let you know when I'm coming out there. We're
okay, cool.
We're doing radio and television locally, so I have no idea how that's gonna go, but it's gonna be interesting. That's all I can say, the least.
All right, awesome, sounds good, man. I'll talk to you soon.
And and you're gonna have a great interview, just so you know. Get ready for it.
All right, sounds good.
All right,
All right, bye.
Maria Conlon, take care.